Okay, guys. Hey, it's Coach Jan here, and we're with two of the best representatives we can get for the Tai Chi World Cup this year. We have Ilona, Bito, we have James, McConnell, and they're just so talented. So I'm really, really excited to be talking about some of this push hand stuff, and we're going over these drills. This could be great. So we're talking about the crank right now. And Ilona, your question about here we go. Your question about the crank in terms of turning somebody. You want to instigate the person turning, so you're actually not turning them. And the instigation is going to be something along the lines of, let's say you have an underhook. You could also do it with an overhook, but you have an underhook, and you have an underhook, and the hand that's under is going to inflate. This is one way to do it, because otherwise, if you're turning them, you're doing a more of a Russian judo style, like body slam, which is awesome. And I forgot the exact name of it, but Emil Rochester, I forget Emil's last name, but he does it very, very well. He's from the Russian Olympic judo team.
But that's like picking him up.
Yes, that is exactly. You pick them up, you load them onto your body, and then you dump. And so this is different. This is more of a it's a different type of finesse. And this finesse is inflate the tricep, reach with the fingers. And as you reach with the fingers across your opponent's spine, that first move it should get them to push back. So you're intentionally, and you may not do it big, or you might do it big, but you're intentionally pushing to get them to push back. And oftentimes, like we play that game so much, where you tap a shoulder just to get the shoulder to push forward. You want to instigate the move, and the second that they move back, you're ready to turn this reach into a cup on the scapula or on the shoulder, and then you drop, you stick, you use your sticking, and you connect, you stick to that area that you're cupping, and then you empty the hip out on that area. And that's how you get the person to fall into the hole that the hip is creating. So let's do it with your, I believe I'm seeing you guys correctly. Let's do it with your right leg and right hand forward. So if you guys just switch legs but keep the same, yeah. So right leg and right hand forward. Inhale, inflate the right hand. And James, to make it realistic for her, if you could just push back into your stance, into your left leg. Exactly. When you feel that push back, that's when you drop. And now let's talk about the other hand, Ilona. The other hand is going to reach and shoot. You're literally shooting your intention, your visualization, your breath, etc., through the shoulder to lift the shoulder up through the neck to the other shoulder. So you want to create a line from one shoulder to the other. And you can do it on their tricep, or you can reach deeper around to just, let's say if you're doing it right here, and I'm reaching, hard to see over here, and I'm reaching around, if I'm over, I'm going to reach over and grab this part of the back under the shoulder.
Right exactly. Under, so it lifts up.
Exactly. So you lift up there, but the intention is to shoot it through the shoulder. So you're dropping on one side, dropping down, and you're lifting on the other. So, and that's how you get the big dump, the big crank.
It's because I'm doing a little bit too much. Sure. But yeah. So load up, lift it up. The steps are not supposed to cut.
So I just changed the camera too. So there's a Neigong exercise that's very helpful for this too. If you're in hugging the tree position, and this will give you pretty much the exact mechanic that you want to do. You're in hugging the tree position, inhaling deep, exhaling, sinking into your stance, and then inhale deep, exhale. One hand is going to drop with gravity. The elbow drops with gravity, and the fingers stick on the dropping hand, and the other hand pushes across those shoulders. And the intention, notice that my spine is very straight. My eyes stay, actually, the eyes can move with the middle finger of the top hand. Your eyes will stay in the middle finger of the top hand. Inhale, coming back up, and exhale, doing it again on the other side. And when you come back up, you're practicing the inflation. So you're here, you did the dump. It's as if you dumped the barrel of apples. So you dump the barrel out, turn it over. That's how you get the big throw. And then you inhale, inflate the tricep to come back to the hugging the tree position. And that's where you're playing with the underhook moment where you're instigating the throw. So you're going to play with that moment, inflate, and then exhale, drop to the other side. Play with the moment, inflate, exhale, drop to the other side. And you can do this seated in your half horse stance, and you can also do it standing shoulder width apart. And Jordan came up with this, Jordan Forth, from the 2010 US team. And you inhale deep, and you exhale, and you melt the hip out on this version. And my toe, one toe will be pointed to the air, so that only the heel will be down. And so that allows me to melt the hip out. And this version is great because it allows you, inhale coming back up, it allows you to feel the hold that you're creating. Because remember, the crank, not all the time, but many times, you're sucking an opponent into a hold that you're creating. So when you allow the one hip to melt into the other, you can really feel it just disappears like butter. And it's really great, especially for bridging into other martial arts like jujitsu and taking somebody to the ground. So really feeling this, and I recommend doing it both ways, seated and standing like this. Inhaling up and exhaling, really feeling like you're dropping that barrel. Inhaling up. But the reason we were doing that is so that you guys could partner up and get back into the stance work so that you can feel it, because I think that one of the coolest things about Tai Chi push hands drilling for the sport is that you have to have a level of realism to exactly, like James, his reaction to your crank has to be to gain to drop for a moment. You're essentially practicing feigning, James. And what I mean by feigning is that you're practicing allowing yourself to be sucked in and then saving yourself. So you can essentially, if you could test out your opponents by allowing them to play different moves on you and then sucking yourself, saving yourself, meaning that, okay, I'm going to be pulled on my left shoulder, so I'm going to drop in. So I drop, I soften my left hip, I anchor my right, even though I'm not 70% on my right leg, but I'm getting my spiral power down into the left. So when Ilona cranks you, you should feel like you're charging up for a move. That way you can come back and counter her. So you're really breaking it down into each person is doing hefty work. And so Ilona, when you inflate, make sure that right leg is on the three nails, on the ball, the foot, and big toe, especially when you create the when you instigate. So when you instigate, really claim that space and just feel that full inflation for a moment.
Right now? I'm
Yep.
trying to... Sorry, let me do that. So,
and the other hand will just be gently placed in position because you don't want to.
Hold on. Wait. Can't hear you.
You hear me? You can't hear me anymore?
Oh. No, get me back.
I'm
back.
I'm back. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was saying that that your other hand is gently placed in position, so they know it's there, but it shouldn't be activated in terms of giving them any type of pressure one way or another. It's just ready to go, and so you inflate on one side, the other hand's ready to go. So you're essentially set up in your target position with the other hand.
So when I inflate, it's here.
Yeah, it could be. First of all, it wouldn't be on the ball of the shoulder. It would be just below it, so that you can lift up, or it would be slightly toward the scapula. Exactly, and that's the one I recommend the most. That's the one I'm most comfortable with. Great. And super important to note that there are multiple ways to do this, and we'll drill it in a moment. But first of all, Ilona, if you're going to give up this leg, similar to the single, the shoulder width stance version, pick up the toe all the way. The reason I'm exactly so if someone falls on your knee, you can turn your toe and your knee at the hip joint to save your knee. This is a big thing that people will fall on your leg, and you don't want to get a knee injury. So it's really, really important to slide out. And the camera is really helping me right now. As you can see, like the perspective of the pressure coming down, 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 down. So, yeah, exactly. And in Taiwan, in previous tournaments, if you were to drop somebody to the floor and land on top of them, meaning they came off first, and then you just drop your chest on them, which is proper jujitsu, that's going to keep you safer, and you'll still get the point. So, and Josh does that a lot in his last match with the Buffalo, where he drops him and lands on top. So I definitely recommend, primarily for safety reasons, to allow that toe to come up and the knee, and to toe and knee move at the same time on the hip joint.
The front knee should be.
Say it again?
Right here, on it says come down to the floor with them. So here, when she lifts up that toe, she's turning me. If I fall on her leg, it's better that the front knee should be bent, so she could, in case I bring all my weight down onto it, this. But following her this way.
So Ilona just answered, just showed my response to that. So essentially, the foot, the reason you're keeping this. So James, I totally get what you're saying. How I applied it and how we applied it in previous World Cup experiences is, as the pressure's coming down, that's when you start to bend the leg, and that's when you get this kind of very kung fu type of cross leg experience here. So bending the knee, if you see the person coming down, you start bending the knee as you shift. Exactly. And it's totally fine.
Nice.
Totally fine just to jump over and land on them. But more than likely, they'll go past your leg. Some people will drag their knee to slice into your thigh. That's a dirty trick. It works. It's great. And we'll also talk about the crank with the thigh slicer, because the crank with the thigh slicer is very, very important. And that's going to have you either throwing your thigh in or keeping your thigh very strong against the opponent to do the crank. So what I mean is that you won't have the same mechanic of giving up. The mechanic that we're doing right now of giving up, let's drill that 10 times each side and just see how it looks. And then switch for James. Actually, 10 times, and then James goes, and then you guys switch.
Okay, hold on. Like, I should do that, or do that spiral. And so make sure that.
Nice. Nice. So remember, with that connection, your hips, your weight should fall as you drop with the sticking hand. Your weight should fall into his hips. So as you take the weight off of your front leg, it's going into his hips and then going into your leg.
Sticking your hips. No more.
And Ilona, another note is that we're talking about cumulative vectors here, and so each vector is key in the order it's key. So that being said, the feeling overall, the accumulation of the vector should feel like you're going spiraling up, up, up. So you spiral with that first, and then you spiral down, spiral up and spiral down. So it should feel as simple as that, but you have every time you add an angle and an intention, that's another vector that stacks.
Cool. So 3 nails. Head. Your head.
Awesome. And remember, focus on the drop, and once you get the drop, just leave them. Don't do the push away, because you don't want to train your muscles to do something that you don't need to do. Because you're playing for a point right now. So up, down, up, down. Nice, nice.
Oops.
Okay. Nice. James, you want to go for a few for 10?
Okay.
Right. You guys may want to take a half step. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
James, with your thumb and index finger on the right arm, just make sure you feel the pressure that you're lining up for your target, meaning that your target, when you get the pushback, the response you want is going to be the scapula or the shoulder cupping, sticking with a cup formation on the right hand. So what I mean by that is that if your hand's low, lift it up so that when you are reaching through, that first reach is to reach across their shoulders also. So, and then you're playing with the response, their answer back, which is going to be a unconscious pushback.
Okay, I thought you meant get the shoulder blade on this side.
You can get it on that side. It's very helpful. But I mean specifically, again, I'm using this. I started using the term cumulative vectors. I got. And it's all visualization and has to be in the mind. So, right. So like you're reaching across the shoulders on the right arm, and then you're dropping the elbow and the hip on the right arm, and while pushing with the left. Exactly. And so you want to get enough spin, meaning that you want to get them past your hip line enough before you give up your hip, so that you don't spin into them or fall with the drop. So that means that you have to actually hold space on your right leg as you're turning, and then give up the right leg. So there's a rhythm and a timing that you'll feel as you keep playing, as you keep on drilling. And Ilona, for you, yes, awesome. Practice catching yourself.
I can go or other side. Okay, switching side. I'm doing left side now. Okay. All right. So here, this. Oh. So I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's. Fine. Oops. Okay. I'm doing that to upgrade myself. Okay. That- Yep. That, yep. There's no way that
What about this, Jen? If she gets no weight in there, her foot lifting off the floor, I don't want to hyperextend her knee, and I don't want to blow out her ACL by having weight on it. But if she has no weight, it's coming off the floor like that.
So let me make sure I understand what you mean. Are you saying that when she has no weight and you hit her leg when you fall?
Yeah,
Um,
let's try that. Let me show
Yeah.
you. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. One, I'm worried. This way, hyperextend, no good. This way, if she's got weight on it, it's an ACL issue. But if there's no weight, then moving her foot out of the way. I think if she turns more, maybe, you know, like when you did that stance, this kung fu thing all the way on the back leg, though. Yeah. That would do it. Let's see. Yeah, that's it.
nice.
Yeah, over here.
I was not thinking that. I was just thinking there. So.
That threw my foot.
Oh.
I can't get her leg. It throws me, spins me all the way back to where you said to do this, all the way back that way, 45 degrees back, past the center line. I'm coming off of her leg. Watch this. Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah, it's solving the leg problem. Oh, nice. It just lifts me off the floor. I can't come down.
That's great.
Twice as good as it did before.
Oh my God.
That's
This is great, Jen. Okay, let me try.
Yeah, so you're on the left leg now? Woo!
Okay, so make sure, James, that you have, because you're playing in a different weight class when you drill with her. So that means that you have to be even more precise, because otherwise you're gonna train inaccurately. So that left hand should go all the way up exactly, so that when your tricep inflates, it lifts her elbow. Fingers are reaching across. Playing push hands with my son because he's so the weight requires. I think anytime you have a chance to do push hands with a child, it's amazing because you really have to work on the clarity of your technique rather than the power.
I had a workshop last weekend and I had a 10-year-old girl come with her mom. She was amazing. It was so cool. But yeah, it was
awesome.
Really clear with realizing and didn't really crank her though. Next time.
So James, you see how your left hand is on the small of the back?
Yeah.
And it kind of
So because it's on the small of the back, what's happening is that you're twisting her hips parallel to the ground, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. What I'm getting at is that one you want to drill that and make sure it works on someone your size, because right now you're getting the advantage of your weight, your height. So that's one. Two, you don't necessarily have multiple as many forces of gravity working in your favor here, because you're coming parallel rather than dropping down. And the drop down is to pull your opponent into that empty space that you're going to create. Downward. Nice.
Felt the diagonal. Yep.
Nice. So let's get like 5 more of those clean, James. That
Okay.
one you just did, and what I mean by clean is that you keep your stance afterward. So
Okay.
when you finish, stay on your back leg coiled, and then come right back to playing position.
Lost it.
Okay. So.
Ilona, keep your right big toe on the ground. You're practicing giving up your right big toe, which is strategically not in your advantage, because you want to give him a little more work to do. So James, another note here is that I previously said one hand, the left hand in the version you were doing with the right hand, right leg forward, that the left hand is going to stay stationary. However, when you're playing with an opponent that's shorter, you might find some value in doing a little bit of a drop down on to complement the reach across. So the right arm's reaching across, the left arm is dropping down just a little bit, but instead of it being a pull down, it's actually you doing the handle flip, as William C.C. Chen called it several times, where one side of the body comes up, but the other side is dropping down, and the side that's dropping down has the weight relaxing on it. So because you're creating this void here, the weight relaxing this way and flipping up the other way, that weight will transfer into her right side. And that way, when you take it away, you'll get more spin, because essentially she's a ball and you want to put spin on her. You want to spin the ball to where you want, to the goal. So try that this time, adding like keep your inflation up, but on the other side, allow the body to relax into her shoulder and create a vacuum. Yeah, with your hip, the vacuum with your hip, and then reverse it and shoot the pressure the opposite way. Oh. Yes, awesome. Awesome. And that's really for opponents with a height difference.
Uh-huh.
Whoa.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the missing ingredient.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, she sat out at that time. She gets me when she sits back.
I'm thinking my toe like you said. Yeah.
One more clean one.
Okay.
We're on the left side. Okay. Again.
Nice. Let's add one more layer, James. Do it one more time on your right arm with your left leg forward. Your left leg forward, the one that you were just doing. When your right arm comes up, angle it. So you have the void happening in your right arm. The left hand is inflating, left arm inflating, right arm is, and the hip, everything's dropping as that inflation happens, right? And then when you switch it, so the other side starts to drop and stick and pull away, which is different here. you're not necessarily doing a hard drop and stick. You're dropping into your own hip, and it just so happens that your weight is pulling here, so that there's a slight adjustment that on one side you're sticking, your part 2 on your left hand is going to be stick and drop, which is different than the part 1 on the right hand, which is just create void. So the reasoning behind that is that when you switch on that right arm, when you switch that right arm on, you want to shoot that line super clear through the shoulders. So you're here and then shoot super clear through the shoulders. And if you need to, because of the height, shoot slightly up so that when the drop gets a sharper angle. Exactly. So that the shoulders get a sharper angle. And really think about aiming that spin to 45 degrees behind your right shoulder. So it's good to remember that you guys are not going to get the same response from each of you because of the height. The mechanics are literally different in terms of because of the difference in height. So like mechanically, you dropping your weight onto James is going to create a different type of spin than James dropping his weight onto you. So I think that you shouldn't, as long as you're getting the opponent to move and you feel very strong with it, meaning when I say strong, I literally mean that you've created a solid structure and then all of a sudden that structure disappears and there's a sucking experience happening where the person's falling into it. That's, I think, going to be to be giving notes to each other as you do the drill so that you can constantly be like you innovated today with protecting. Oh. Can you hear me?
Now we can. Okay. It left off. Nope. Lost it.
Maybe you should switch to audio, Jan. Switch to just kill the picture.
Oh, hold on. I realized I muted myself. I was trying to unmute myself. You can hear me?
It was a great suspense. You said, today you innovated.
Oh, it's hilarious. What I was saying was that you innovated on your knee, protecting your knee. So, however, it's going to switch per person. It has to be customized. So that's therefore constantly giving each other notes as you do these drills so that you can find the angles that give the depth. And what I mean is the depth of the technique so that you can feel the sharpness and so you can feel the strength of, like I said, inflating and creating a vacuum for each of your body types, and being able to give each other notes on that is going to be super important. And do you guys have a few more minutes just to because we should probably let's just talk about the stationary knee version of this. So the there's the cutting, which we should do like an entire session on, which is thigh slicing. But you don't have to necessarily do the movement. This is especially for fixed step where you slice in and do the throw at the same the crank at the same time. And there's some, we have some videos of the Taiwanese team doing that, and this is where we pulled it from. And it's very similar to judo, meaning that you'll step 1, 2, 3, slice. It'll be very similar to that. But stationary for fixed step, the thigh slice is going to be connecting. So you're essentially going to do the exact drill that you just did, but instead of melting the hip away, you're going to stay strong on this leg. And the intention is going to be to move the opponent with the inflation and then crash them over your thigh. So crashing thighs and using that thigh as a leverage point to flip their body.
Stay on my front. Still go through.
Yeah, everything's the same except instead of taking your awesome. So did you feel how that felt on the thigh with him rolling over it?
So now I'm not gonna go on my back leg. I'm going to stay on my.
Exactly. So these are two different techniques. They're variations, but sometimes you'll need one, sometimes you'll need the other. If you have an opponent, to give you an example, James, as Ilona, she kept her hips back and made it hard for you to crank her. So this is a great example of a if you're playing with somebody who keeps their hips back, what you don't necessarily need to pull them, suck them into the hole. What you want to do is instigate them going one way, bring them to another direction on the upper body, so it crashes and then has to give up space to protect their own knee. So this has been very safe in my experience, because I'm not aiming them to my knee. I'm crack. Can you hear me?
Now you're back.
Okay. So what I was saying was that I'll take a little half step in before the point to make sure that my knee is not lined up with their knee, that it's a little bit past it, so I can really aim for thigh contact. So, and you can test that too while you're playing, making sure that you touch thighs a little bit, and then when you know that you have the alignment right, then you can execute the technique. So this requires more targeting on your end.
Okay. I'm not feeling this straight across here. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Nice.
Your surgeon.
Remember that your dropping of the weight in the front leg is part of what protects your knee. So that means that as you do that crank, you are softening into the lead leg groin. Because if you pull off, then you have the other technique.
Okay.
So you just want to be super clear on what the variations are, so you can drill them and strategize around them. So, James, on that one, saw how your knee got hit a bit?
Yeah.
And it wobbled a bit? The weight was mostly on your heel. You could see a straight line from your heel to your knee. So just to solve that, sinking a little more, meaning softening your right hip into your left groin a little bit more. And then when you do that load, you do the first load, meaning you inhale, reaching across. So you're loading them onto your arm by nature of their reaction. And as you feel that, you coil right back into that front leg.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I really got the leverage on my thigh that time.
And remember, this is something that you do to you have to read the opponent first. Like, you don't want to just do this on anybody, because if you get somebody who's really heavy, that's going to crash into your legs, you don't want to injure yourself, because you really want to gauge, is this person's upper body, what's the elasticity feel like? Are they whipping back into their leg? And does it feel like I can manipulate through their upper body how their lower body touches mine? So you start playing a little bit, saying, okay, I'll move the shoulder here, move the shoulder there. I can feel them kind of touching my thigh. And then you know, okay, cool. Whoa. And then they go over the thigh. But if you don't feel those things, and you're literally looking for how does the upper body touching affect the lower body positioning, and does it make their knees wobble, you have to keep asking yourself that, and separate the two drills we did today when you play with yourselves, so that you can ask each other, when I touch your shoulder, do you feel the connection? Because it's really on you as the instigator to feel the connection down through the opponent's knees. So you want to be like, okay, does this, like, I don't feel it. Do you feel it? And then that's how you're going to gain more insight into to any opponent's body. So definitely ask the questions there.
Is it okay if I try and like neutralize more now?
Yeah.
Cause maybe you have some tips on neutralizing the crank as well, right? The other side of it. So I'm thinking about keeping my front toes down. And then forcing. Right, like I can,
Excellent.
okay.
So that's excellent. And another variation of a similar mechanic is to keep your hand from the small of the back. So when they start cranking you, your hips go back, but your chest expands upward into them. So you start rolling your chest onto their chest, and you roll the small of their back towards your hips. So you literally scoop up and drop your hips, so that it'll muffle the crank.
Here, you show me.
I'm gonna, yeah, so you crank me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Take the small of the butt.
And that's where you start getting into exercises like this on a tree. I'm right in front of a tree. And so one of the exercises that you're going to want to do to prepare, there's a whole set that you want to do on the tree to condition the, it's not so much conditioning, you are conditioning the bones and the muscle, but you're more so conditioning your structure. So you might do ward off on a tree and hold and come back down. Ward off on the tree, just so you can feel the whole structural support. But the belly, specifically for the move we just did here, and inhaling and throw the belly into the tree, so you can really feel how it feels to expand the belly. It's inhaling, pushing the lower dantian into the opponent in a similar way that you just did to refute the crank. So you may drop you roll the lower back in, you lift the chest up, and when the person's falling back, you may need to knock them off a little bit more, and your hands might be preoccupied. So you boom, blow the belly in, and that's how you get them to go back farther.
That's great. I've been trying to explain this a little bit, like when you stick your belly out, like it works. But yeah, so I'm excited. So.
Nice. And remember, it's the third vector, right? So what I mean by that is that we're still doing punch, kick, knee. We're still doing combos, jab, cross, left. It's all the same thing. It's just manifests in more subtle details, more subtle awareness. So your 1, 2, 3, rather than jab, cross, hook, is chest, fingers, belly. So you chest, you feel the crank coming, you chest. You start to take their lower back and compromise their spine, fingers. And then as they start to give up and lean back because their crank is not working, you're muffling it, belly. Nice. And remember, the Swajal folks hit with the belly a lot. So like if you're ever looking for an art that really uses the belly strategically, like just look to Swajal, they blast the belly. And that's where a lot of the really experts in blasting the hips as well, into bellies. So
Okay. So you're coming for me? No, I don't. We're left at 6. It looks like blue. Okay.
awesome, guys! I have to run into the library and then to the comic book shop and call my son.
Hey.
I'm so glad this worked out.
Yay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jan.
Yeah, and if you like I said, we can do it like once or twice a week. Just let me know, because I really want to make sure that you guys feel like you have your 5 techniques, but you also have the slight variations of knowing when you want to do what version. So yeah. I think that today, like, we really drilled down on 2. Make sure you guys stretch, etc. But this is we can get into the walking one for you, Ilona, if that's going to be helpful next time. And I can also look for.
I figured 2, 3. That's what you mean?
Yes, it's going to be 1, 2, 3 thigh slicer.
I'll let you go. That's my homework to try and
Okay.
back next time. Cool.
Okay, I love you guys so much.
Yeah.
Okay, see you next
Yeah, I
week.
love the bear too.
Yes. And
Okay,
yeah,
see you next week. Love you, love you.
see you next time. Yeah.